Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another one of our Faith at Home podcasts. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to preach on the parable of the sower in Mark chapter 4. And for those of you who maybe are unfamiliar with this parable, it talks about Jesus tells a story about this farmer who's casting seed out into the fields. And it talks about four different soils that seed lands on. The first one is this path, or maybe the hard soil, where it doesn't do anything except for lay on the hard soil, and then the birds come and will eat it, and nothing happens to it. Some seed then falls on the rocky soil, where it sprang up quickly, but then sadly the plant withered because it was not able to develop any roots. And then it talked about the thorny soil, that some of the seed fell upon weeds or thorns that grew up with it, and while it started to grow, it got choked out and died because of the weeds or thorns. And then lastly, Jesus talks about the good soil, which was, the seed was fertilized and cared for, and it produced a crop that was 30, 60, 100-fold of what was sown. And so Jesus actually tells us what this parable meant in the rest of the chapter, where each soil represents a different response to the message of Jesus. In a sense, it's asking the question, which soil will you be? How are you going to respond to the gospel? But I was thinking creatively of this text when I was preparing for this sermon, and so I asked that you would give me a little liberty to use this parable as an illustration for maybe how we parent faith well. And so in other words, rather than seeing these soils as a response to the gospel message, what if we also saw them as environments that we create for our kids? In other words, which soil are you as parents? Which environment of faith are you cultivating at home? And so maybe you might relate now to the hard soil, the path. This is the environment where sadly things of faith are completely absent from the home. Your kids never hear you talk about your faith. They never see you engage in spiritual practices. And maybe you do go to church once a month or for those special holidays, but that's about the only exposure that your kids might get to Jesus. And so sadly, these environments happens way more than we think, but it's at least important to acknowledge that maybe this is my family, because once you are aware, you can now begin to make strides towards changing your life, changing your patterns, changing the things that might help cultivate a sticky faith environment in your home. And the truth is, they tell us all this time, Kara Powell says, it's never too late to start developing a sticky faith environment at home. So maybe you can relate to that. Or maybe you can relate to the rocky soil. This environment would be like the parents who have really good intentions to expose their kids to Jesus, but there really isn't much follow through. They maybe commit to bringing their kids to church gatherings, maybe even start incorporating some spiritual practices even at home. And these are very good intentions to begin cultivating a sticky faith environment, but while there are good intentions, the problem with rocky soil is that there's no roots. And so when these spiritual practices are just simply too demanding, when these gatherings clash with other commitments that they have made, when they have a fight with their kids over engaging in things of faith, it just becomes too hard. And so it's just easier to simply give up and walk away from all of this. You see, rocky soil environments can really capitalize from building intentional relationships with other believers. Because I can't tell you how many people walk away from a life with Jesus simply because they were so isolated. When we're not connected to the body, we aren't encouraged. We aren't given creative ideas. We feel alone. And the truth is, too, when we as parents aren't connected to the body, it's very likely that our kids are not getting connected as well. And so if you connect with this environment, if this kind of sounds like your home, I would encourage you to surround yourself with other people, other parents who love Jesus, who can bring you encouragement, who can remind you that you're not alone, who can share ideas of what's worked well with their family. And it even begins to develop a sticky web for your kids. It's putting other caring adults in their lives who love Jesus and can be a positive influence in your own kids' faith journey as well. Maybe, though, you can connect to the thorny soil. Okay, this is the environment where parents end up actually choking out the faith of their kids. The truth is we all want our kids to have a vibrant faith life, maybe even have a more profound faith than what we currently have ourselves. But sometimes we can get so caught up in faith looking like a certain way that the idea of legalism will creep into how we encourage faith. And so for those of you who don't know, legalism is this mindset of this excessive adherence to a law, right? So in other words, thorny faith is going to be one that sees life with Jesus as about behavior modification rather than a response to what Jesus did for us. You end up being so focused on how your kids look, how they act, the certain things they do. You want them to look a certain way. And so you can already see with my hands, like you end up choking any opportunity for faith development in your kids. And sadly, our kids, when they see that, they think that faith is all about doing, and more often actually what they cannot do. They see faith as about a list of rules, and they miss the message of abundant life. And so they fail to see the point of all this, and potentially any faith that they might have had ends up getting choked out. And so the hard part with the thorny soil is, as much as we want our kids to have a vibrant faith, we have to lean into the tension of helping cultivate, but we can't force our kids to have faith. We can't. We have to our understanding of the gospel and what that means is important in this environment, and in even recognizing that I can control my own faith. So we have to pay attention to that. And so maybe you might connect with that, or maybe, and this would hopefully be my goal for all of us, is that we can be the good soil. That we can be parents who create an environment where we respond to the opportunity as parents and do the hard work of cultivating faith in our homes. So what happens here is that parents are recognizing that they are the primary faith influencers. That's one of the key things that sticky faith research has found, is that kids who had a faith that stuck with them off into college, they could connect it to their own parents having a vibrant faith life. And so we know we can control our own faith journey. And so we are capitalizing on that. So they know that it begins with caring and growing our own faith. Parents also in good soil environments have faith conversations with their kids regularly about what they believe, why they do what they do, and even take time to process difficult situations that maybe are coming their way. They even will make room in their life to value sticky faith cultivating environments. And what I mean by that is we live in a very busy world. We live in a world where we maybe tend to overcommit and underproduce, or overdo our schedules in such a way where we end up not being able to participate in certain things. And so the truth is, where you spend your time and where you spend your money will reveal a lot about what you value. And so good soil environments are going to make tough decisions about removing things from their schedules in order to be in proximity with other believers. So they're going to make that a priority. They're going to say, we're going to value this over these other things. Or they're going to choose to spend their money on certain experiences that might provide opportunities to encounter God or to join God in doing His work in the world. And we'll even invite the kids to be a part of that journey. Or good soil environments might choose to create new faith-forming traditions or habits over other preferred activities. Now again, this isn't just forcing, we're going to do a family Bible study now every week. It's not just forcing it on the family, because that's going to start to lean us more towards legalism. But instead, they know why, and they're going to share why. They're indicating the value of these things, and it's raising it up as something that we believe is important for our family. And here's why, right? And so my goal, hopefully, is that at some point, my family will be good soil. We are working towards cultivating our environment to be good soil. But the truth is, there's never any silver bullet. There's no silver bullet to faith at home because we can't make our kids have faith, right? The true understanding of this parable of the sower is to recognize that there's different ways people respond to the gospel message, and we can't control how people respond. But in good soil environments, parents take their role as the primary faith influencers seriously. They are intentional to respond to the opportunities they have to cultivate a sticky faith in their kids at home. And so, the question I have before you is this: which soil are you? What kind of an environment of faith are you cultivating at home? And may you be the good soil that takes their role as faith formers seriously, that does the hard work that comes with this journey. And I pray that God would bless your family and you would see an abundance of vibrant faith in your kids that would be 100-fold what you have sown. And so, Lord, bless you this week, and we will see you right back here again next time at one of our Faith at Home podcasts. See ya.